Welcome back to our May edition of What's Up Stratford. Joining me next is Gord Conroy from the Streets of Stratford. Gord, thanks very much for joining me.
Peter, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having us. I'm here with my friend who is invisible, called Paul Wilker. Paul's the guy who actually started this whole thing, and I came on partway through, and it's been quite the project. The heritage and history of Stratford, and make it all possible for people just with a click of a button. It's amazing.
So why did you get involved?
Well, Paul and I were friends growing up, and through a mutual connection, which was completely serendipitous, we reconnected, and I found out what he was doing and said, boy, that sounds interesting. And since then, I've shared my life with the Streets of Stratford.
So if one were to Google Streets of Stratford and click on it, what can they expect to see?
Oh, a lot of stuff. When we first made it public, which was just over a year ago in March, we had about 300 items, entries on the different streets. We now have over 500. And we have had 18,000 clicks, as they say, and people who stay and look at things and say, I live on this street. Isn't this interesting? And right now we're in the midst of doing some things about the evolution of the main streets of Stratford. And we just keep finding new things. There's a new part just called the Sounds of Stratford, all about the whistles and the cannons and things that make Stratford unique. And they've been going on and making people wake up in the morning and get home from work for 100 years. It's amazing.
So Gord, there's a massive amount of content. For example, the Rogers Studio in Stratford's on Huron Street. So of course I click on Huron. I want to talks about the Huron track and the buildings that are on it. How do you have the time to pull together an incredible amount of history and data on that?
We've had a tremendous amount of help from people in Stratford. The Stratford Archives, Betty Jo Belton, and in particular, Ellen Thomas, tremendous help from them. And from the Stratford and District Historical Society, people like Nancy Musselman and all of the folks that are involved there with producing videos and so on of special things in Stratford. Vince Grattan, the man is amazing. Dean Robinson, these people are treasures in Stratford, and we have just tapped in and made, great strides in being able to put things together for people in a way which is fascinating and interesting, we hope.
Well, it certainly is, and I would call them making inroads, but that's a good pun. So, Gord, there's also more than just streets and sounds. There are people. For example, you can look up inventors or musicians. What would you expect to click on and find there?
Well, it's amazing. My age is such that I grew up with people like Richard Manuel and the people who formed the Revels and Dave Mickey, who was part of that group, and everybody. And that was part of it, but that wasn't the only part of music in Stratford. It was also Gordon Scott and the Elizabethan singers and the noted singer John Boyden and Barbara Collier. These are international stars of individuals. So they all have the origins in Stratford. And then, of course, you've got that incredible story of Freeland and the fountain and 1,000 people in the 1800s who came together to sing with him in a choir. I mean, it's unbelievable, the rich history of Stratford. And we've just touched the surface. So we're looking for people who are just a tad younger than our silver hairs to keep on with this project. We think it's a wonderful project, and we really are looking for people who are interested in carrying this on. Right now, we can still type and do stuff, and we're fascinated, and we keep learning new things. But my goodness, it really has had a wonderful reception. And the newspapers, the Stratford Beacon Herald and the Stratford Times, they publish articles for us. once a week in the Beacon, every couple of weeks in the Stratford Times. We do different things in different papers. We hit the streets and the names and why Dunlop Street is part of it and errands and so on. But for the Stratford Times, we hit the businesses and the history of the businesses. So great fun.
Gord, thank you very much for joining me, and what a great legacy and the information that you're building. Thank you very much to you and Paul.
Well, it's really Paul's baby, but I've been helping out, and a ton of other people from Stratford have as well. Thank you, Peter. It's been great to talk.
Coming up next is Rick from Stratford Live.